Thank you for notifying me. So that being said, thank you guys for joining for our Entrepreneur Bootcamp. Today is going to be our last and final day. It's been a three-part series hosted by Electric Engine. My name is Noel Lopez. For those of you that know me or don't, wanted to introduce myself. So I'll be your host for today. And that being said, just to recap the last 2 days, we had the opportunity to speak with some entrepreneurs the first day who told us what it was like to get their business started and just the obstacles they faced, the tips they were able to provide. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to speak with Anil, who elaborated on that and really gave the foundation for starting a business, from thinking about finances all the way to being able to create and set up your website. So that being said, we do want to continue that and continue building on what we've provided, the information that we've been able to share. So today we're actually going to be speaking with Morgan, who's going to be going over how you can market your business using Facebook ads, SEO, and Google Analytics. So that being said, I want to go ahead and introduce Morgan.
Here I am.
So Morgan is, again, going to be taking you through SEO, the things you need to know for Facebook, how you want to market, and really, once you've got your business up and running, you want to make sure that you can then get it out there and people can find it.
Right. So I am the manager of search marketing here at Electric Engine. I do all sorts of, oh, you went away. I do all sorts of SEO strategy and ad strategy, and I'm just going to take you through a couple of the tips that we could recommend to you, and just really how to get started with your Facebook ads, your SEO strategy, and using Google Analytics to track the performance of all that.
And guys, just before she does get started, make sure if you do have any questions to drop them in the Q&A section. We're going to be answering those live once Morgan's done running through all her information.
Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully I do it right. All right. All right, so here we are, session 3, marketing your business. Again, submit any questions that you have. I'm going to try not to ramble. We're going to start off with Facebook advertising, just some tricks and tips that we have, and then also how to actually set up your account. Then we're going to go into SEO, just how to get started with that. Not everybody knows how to do SEO or even what it is. So this is just going to be a beginner overview. And then Google Analytics, how to measure your marketing performance and just use Google Analytics to help all of your marketing efforts. So Anil, well, session 1, you heard from entrepreneurs how they started their business, how you can start planning an idea for your business. And Anil showed you how to make the website. Now you have the website, you need to make sure it gets found. And that's where digital marketing comes into place. There's a paid way and the free way. The paid way is going to be advertising with a budget. You can use Facebook ads, Google ads. We're going to talk about Facebook ads today. Google ads are just as simple to do. If you do the paid way, you need to have a budget. You need to manage your ads to make sure your budget is spent appropriately. Their ad programs are smart. They know how to spend your money accordingly, but you always want to keep an eye on it. You don't want to spend too much money, and what they see as successful, it might not be successful for your goals. So you're just always going to want to be keeping a watchful eye on it, making sure you're not spending too much money in directions that aren't really helping you the way you want it to. And you're going to need creative and actionable ads. If you run search campaigns through Google, it can be purely based off of copy. You don't need any sort of creative assets, but we really recommend social ads, whatever you're doing, because everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on Instagram. And then there's the free way, which is SEO and social media. We already know all about social media. SEO is for your website, of course. Again, you have to put in some sort of effort. None of this comes easy, but you need to be recognized as reputable and trustworthy, whether it is with the search engines, Google in this case, or with your social media audiences. So we're gonna hop right into Facebook advertising, the do's and the don'ts. So you do want to install Facebook Pixel in your website. We'll go over when you'll have to do that, but Facebook Pixel is awesome because It tracks who's going, not in a creepy way, but it tracks who's going onto your website, how they're interacting with it, and then it's going to be able to find them on Facebook later when you are advertising and need to retarget to them. You're also going to want to hook your Instagram and your Facebook accounts up with your ads account. This way, when you are running social media ads, they're coming straight from your social media account. So if people like it, they could click on your name, get to your accounts, engage with you, follow you, maybe get to your website from there. It's just really building that trust. If you are e-commerce, you're going to want to upload your product catalog to your ad account. That way you can set up advertisements for your individual products. You can retarget based on people who have viewed that product before, or if they purchase another product and you have a recommended product for it, you could just push those products out to the right people. You want to create custom audiences based on your target audience. We're going to go into how to build out custom audiences, but just you have the power, you have all this data and all the power to create audiences. So have fun with it and do it. And you want to advertise with video. People love video. It's easy to engage with. It's easy to retarget from video because Pixel actually tracks how long of a video somebody looks at. So video is good for awareness, and then it's also good for conversion. I'm going to show you examples later where we have awesome video ads that led to hundreds and hundreds of conversions, but people just love video. Don't stick with just words. Of course, you can advertise your awesome product photography. In session 1, Chris told us about how his company uses a lot of user-generated content. People love to see that as well. But advertising with video, it resonates a lot with people, and you can make it fun and interesting. You want to use the appropriate call to action for your ads. If you're trying to sell something, use the call to action like buy now, not learn more. It's something so small, but if you use the wrong call to action, it could get confusing and it gets a little messy. And lastly, you want to test different messages. Don't just go with your first gut instinct. You might think you know what your audience wants, but test a bunch of messages. I don't say go 10 messages, but 2, 3, see what works and see what doesn't work, and you might be surprised. Now, don't boost your social media posts. We're gonna get into the creating audiences and all that, and creating ads does take a lot of work. When you boost your social media posts, I'm sure you've seen that on your Instagram posts before. It just pushes it out to a random audience, and it's not going to be your most engaged audience. It's not going to be the audience that is most likely to convert. It's purely just to get your content in front of a ton of eyes, which if that's what you want, it's okay, but there's better and smarter ways of doing it. Again, we have the data, let's use it. Don't be creepy with your retargeting. Facebook is a little creepy and people don't really trust Facebook ads sometimes. So like I said, you could use Pixel to retarget, and you could retarget like individual products that people looked at, but don't be creepy with your messaging. Don't say, I saw this was in your cart, don't forget to check out. People are just going to be creeped out. They're not going to love that. And don't run more than one campaign to the same audience. You're going to cannibalize your own ad spend. Your ads are going to be fighting with each other, and you're going to spend so much money for no reason. Just like you want to test different messages, test your different audiences out. Now we're going to get into setting up the ads. There's a lot of steps, so bear with me. It's not as difficult as it looks though. First, you're going to sign up for Google Ads Manager at business.facebook.com. You don't have to take screenshots or anything. We're going to send out resources tomorrow in an email with all of these links. And then you're going to click that little create ad button right there, and that's going to get you started for creating your first campaign. So your first step is to choose your objectives. There's awareness, consideration, conversion. Most of us probably already know that that's the buyer's journey. Awareness is getting your ad in front of as many people as possible. Consideration is going to be something like getting traffic to your website, getting people to download your app, send you a message, not quite there to your conversion, but the next step. And then conversion is, of course, a purchase, a form fill, a sign up, whatever you choose your conversions to be, that's your end goal. So you're gonna wanna pick your objective, name your campaign, do something that is easy to recognize. So if we're selling Anil's quarantine mugs again. Maybe you want to do June 2020 mug campaign dash conversion, just so for your records, when you go back, you know exactly what you're looking at. Next is your ad set. You can have multiple ad sets within a campaign, and then you can have multiple ads within an ad set. It gets messy real quick if you have a lot of ad assets. So pick a couple to start with, and don't be afraid to make multiple campaigns just so you don't have so much content within one campaign. Ad sets work off of the same objective. So like purchases, your campaign is based off of that original objective. And then your ad sets are going to be working off of your same goal. So in this example, we see the conversion, and it's going to be a website conversion. And then you're going to set your goal with your pixel, which is our next step. You see create a pixel right there at the bottom. This is when you're going to create your pixel. It's very easy. It's just going to populate a code, and you could send it to your developer if you have one, or if you're using Wix, Shopify, something like that, in your settings, there's going to be a place for Google Analytics, a place for Facebook Pixel, and you just pop the code right in there. It's not very hard, but there's also instructions here. It's usually right in the top of the head of your code. And then once your pixel is created, you get to create all your goals there. So it's very easy. It's very fun. You'll put in your URL. It'll show you your website, and you're just going to click on items on the page, and then you're just going to assign it a goal. So if it's a purchase, you get to your cart and you mark it as purchase and things like that. Next is your audience. So you only get one audience per ad set. And remember, like I said, don't use the same audience more than once. So make new campaigns and new ad sets for your new audiences. And then if you want to keep marketing to the same audience for different ads, create those ads under this one audience's ad set. So there's 3 types of audiences you can make. We're going to start with detailed targeting audience. And this is kind of your basic creating your demographic audience. So you can choose from location, age, language, and then where Facebook gets a little different is you can choose interests and behaviors. So again, talking about the mugs, there's probably an interest under here. If you scroll down on this page, you'll see, and you just start typing in words, and it's going to give you dozens and dozens of options. If you type in coffee, you're going to get coffee lovers, coffee purchasers, I love coffee, things like that. And people fit under these interests based on the type of content they post and share on Facebook, their likes, the groups that they're a part of. All of this information builds the interest and behavior audiences. There's no limit. You can put dozens and dozens, but again, this muddies up your audience. So try and pick like 5 different interests and behaviors. And then if you have 5 more that you want to use, just create a whole nother ad set and a new audience based on those interests. Next, we have custom audience, people who have already interacted with your business. This is where Pixel comes into play. You can choose audience that have been on your site in the last 90 days, an audience that has made a purchase in the last 180 days, items or things like that. Build your custom audience, and then that goes into lookalike audience, which reaches out to new people who are similar to your current audiences. So you could have that people who have visited my site in 90 days and then create a lookalike audience for that. And it's going to take all of this interest and behavior data from that target audience, and then it's going to create a new audience from people on Facebook who look like them, not physically look like them, but have the same likes, have the same interests, have the same buying behaviors, and send your ad out to a whole new audience, but it's already an audience that you know is going to convert because you've seen it happen before. Very cool stuff. Lastly, the fun part, you're going to create your ads. So first is your identity. You're going to link up the accounts that your ads will be posted by. This is where I said make sure all of your Facebook and Instagram accounts are linked together in your business manager, because these are the accounts that your ads are going to be posted by. And then you're going to pick your format. So you could do single image or video. You could do carousel, or you could do collection. I recommend single image or video or carousel. This can be single image or video, or it could be a carousel of images and videos or of products. A collection only shows in a few different types of placements, while images and videos can show anywhere in the feed, on the side of your desktop, Facebook, in the stories, on Instagram and on Facebook. There's tons of different places it could show up, but collections, you don't often see them on your feed. They don't show as often. But if you have a lot of great assets, you can create a collection, and it's basically just going to look like a magazine spread, basically. For your creative, you're gonna choose your pictures and videos. You can either pick assets that are already on your Facebook and Instagram accounts, or you could upload new ones. So if you haven't posted them already, don't worry about it. You just upload them here. And then you write the copy that you want to appear with your ad. Every ad needs primary text. That's like the post copy. It's the normal copy. So on Facebook, it's your post. And then on Instagram, it would be your caption. But then there's also headline and description, which are optional, and they don't show up all the time. But it's always worth just to write something there, because it can appear, and it just optimizes the placements that your ad can be put at. You're going to set your destination. So if your ad is going to your website, make sure you're bringing it to the right page. Maybe you have a landing page for this campaign. Maybe you're advertising a specific product. Maybe you just wanted to go to your homepage. Make sure your URL is correct. Test it. You don't want to spend a ton of money and then accidentally been sending people to not even your website. And then you're going to choose the appropriate call to action. As we went over, learn more is not appropriate for an e-commerce store. Buy now. If you use that drop down, it's going to give you over a dozen options. You can't write your own, but there are a lot of options there, so don't worry about it. There's going to be something that works for you. And then lastly, you're going to submit it, and then your ad is live. If it's your first ad, it might take a day or two to get approved by Facebook. They have a pretty strict approval policy, but if you are running a lot of ads, it's taken me 5-10 minutes to get approved for an ad. Once they trust you and they know the type of content that you're posting, it's not going to be a problem. And if it doesn't get approved, you could always resubmit it for manual approval. Facebook just really doesn't want to step on anyone's toes. So if they think there might be an issue with it, they're just not going to approve it. But don't give up. Just submit it again. If there's truly not an issue with it, it should go live eventually. Now we have some examples. So this first example I'm going to show you would be a good awareness ad. And why that is, it's a fun ad. It's colorful. It doesn't really have a direct call to action. It has the brand name in it, but it's not telling us to do anything. So with this awareness ad, you kind of want to build an audience. So get your name out there, get your campaign out there, and then hit them with a more targeted advertisement later once that audience is built up. Hopefully you can hear the sounds. So the call to action is to go to their website. You don't really know exactly what the product is or what you're going to purchase, but you do know that you're going to have more time for Taco Tuesdays with this product, and you're going to be spending less time shipping. So if that's something that resonates with you, you are probably going to look out for this ad again, or once you see it, you're going to act upon it, or you might even just go to this URL right here in the video. And then these next examples are that consideration conversion phase. So it's going to showcase an image of the product. It's going to be really direct with the audience that it is meant for. In this example, I think it's like outdoorsy people, the people who do sports. And then also it's actually going to be 2 videos, and it might be a comparison to a competitor or something like that. So something really actionable. It's like, all right, I need this product. Let me go buy it, or let me research more about it. So this is DEET versus picaridin. This is a picaridin bug spray, and ask the question, which insect repellent would you choose? We actually ran this ad with a poll, and people interacted with the poll that they would choose DEET or picaridin. And then it's the brand messaging right there, and you see the bottle, you know what it looks like, you know what to look for. And then this one comes with a testimonial. Testimonials are great for building trust, building new audiences. People trust people more than they trust brands. That's just the way it rolls. So you don't have to have a call to action in your video or in your image, because these are Facebook ads. You create that call to action button right there. It's in your copy and it's in the whole format of the ad. If we were talking about display ads for Google, then you will need a call to action in the image or the video, because they need to know to click it, and because there's no copy by those. And I believe this wraps it up for Facebook ads. So we're gonna go into SEO now. So what is SEO? If you're not already aware, search engine optimization. Not only my favorite thing in the world, but it's your relationship with search engines, and it's how you are seen in the organic search results. So Google owns 70% of the search market. So you got to make sure you're following their rules. And that's basically what SEO is, following Google's best practices, which change all the time, by the way, but these 3 items that I'm going to show you, they're never going away. These are important forever and ever. Clean backlinks. So this means other websites trust you. These are other websites linking back to your page. That might be a directory like Yelp or White Pages or something like that. Or it might be an article featuring you. So Forbes featured your business and they linked back to you. Or it could be you as a business owner getting quoted by another news source or another website. These are all good backlinks, clean backlinks. Dirty backlinks are spammy backlinks, so people just trying to beat the system, and there is no beating Google. The information that you are presenting is honest. So a page labeled as coffee mugs actually shows coffee mugs. You're going to show what your page is about using your heading tags and your page titles. We're going to get into that next. But you just want to clearly label your content on your website, because that's how Google knows what your page is about and knows when to show you in the search results. And then you want to have content to support your claims. So quality content like blogs prove your leadership. It also gives you more chances to get linked by other websites, because it's your thought leadership. People are going to take that content and use it as a source sometimes. Yes, blogs are important, and just continuously updating the content on your website. Google wants to see your website is actively changing and updating and improving itself, being a good quality source on the internet, because as we know, there are many fish in the sea. There are many websites out there. So what makes yours different and better, and why are you going to show in search and they're not? Good SEO. So the steps for SEO, there's a lot, but I condensed them down to 4 to make it easier. Step 1 is going to be auditing your current positions and your competitors. Step 2 is going to be the keyword research. Step 3 is implementing the SEO elements. There are a lot of places to stick SEO on your website. We're going to talk about 2 or 3, but again, it's following the best practices, the backlinks, the proper labeling, the proper naming conventions, and the good content. And then step 4 is measurement. We're just going to go right into Google Analytics for there, because we need to measure our ads too, right? So audit, we're going to start by asking ourselves, what searches do I want to appear for? So basically what this question means is, what keywords do I want to appear for? And then, am I appearing for them, and how high in search? We want to be number 1. Number 1 is not always possible. For example, we're going to talk about a pizza restaurant in a minute. If Yelp appears above our pizza restaurant, there's really no stopping it. Yelp is always going to be a more trusted, more reputable website than our local pizza joint. But how high can we get outside of Yelp? We want to be ahead of our competitors. Then what searches are my competitors appearing for, and are they appearing above me? And how high above me? Is it a couple spots that if I just change a couple things on my website, I might appear ahead of them? or are we pages and pages behind? And if we are, maybe we need to reevaluate our whole website strategy, our whole SEO strategy. If we had one already, maybe creating one now is going to give us that big boost that we need. So Slice of Italy is my favorite pizza restaurant by the office, and I miss it so much. I can't wait to go back. So I was thinking about them, so I searched them up, and Grubhub is number one. Like I said, can't really beat Grubhub, but then after that, we see their website is listed below it. And then on the right, we see the knowledge panel. And what that is if you have a Google My Business account, which is a free account, all of these Google accounts that I talk about are free, so always sign up for them. Google My Business will allow you to show up in this knowledge panel, and then the 3-pack, which we'll get into in a second. And with that, you're just going to put in as much information as possible: your website, your address, your phone number, allow for reviews, put your menu there, put your products there. Just put as much information as possible because it gives you even more opportunities to show up. So I searched Slice of Italy and they showed up in the knowledge panel, but maybe I searched something very specific to their menu, like maybe they're the only place in the area that has a cheeseburger pizza. If I typed in cheeseburger pizza, Norwalk, Connecticut, they might show up in the knowledge panel again because that's the only menu item in Norwalk for their website. Now, I also searched for pizza, Norwalk, Connecticut, because that's the keyword I want to rank for if I own Slice of Italy. That's like the money keyword. I searched it, then this local 3-pack popped up, which again pulls data from Google My Business, but also it looks at your website's SEO as well. And this is even higher than position 1. So Grubhub on this left image, that's position 1. Slice of Italy, that's position 2. This local 3-pack is above all of that. That's position 0. Like if you get there, you're eye level right there and nobody has to scroll to get you. It's very easy. You can order straight from that click. That's the place you want to be. And unfortunately, Slice of Italy is not appearing there. That's a problem. And then we look at the whole first page and Slice of Italy is not appearing for the search pizza, Norwalk, Connecticut. And maybe if you were doing research for a school project or something, you went past page 1, but the last time you were searching for a pizza restaurant, you probably weren't going past page 1. So this is a problem. Does Slice of Italy even exist if they're not showing up on page 1? They are. I took the liberty of scrolling through a couple more pages. I went through 5 pages and they still weren't showing up for pizza, Norwalk, Connecticut. So we're going to ask ourselves these questions again. What searches do I want to appear for? Pizza, Norwalk, Connecticut. That's what I am. That's what I sell. That's what a lot of people are searching for every month. Am I appearing for it? I don't think so. I mean, I wasn't on page 1 and I wasn't on page 5. So I'm not really showing up in search. Are my competitors appearing for it? Yes, they showed up in the local 3-pack. Of course they did. And 10 competitors showed up ahead of me on page 1. So this is a problem. So now we're gonna reevaluate our SEO and do some keyword research. So the free way of doing this is Google Ads Keyword Planner. You don't need to spend money on this. Like I said, you need to spend money if you're running Google Ads, but if you're just using the tooling in here, totally free. Just make an account with your Gmail. So you go into Google Ads Keyword Planner. I'll give you this link in the resources. You search the keywords that you want to, and you'll get all this cool data. You can see how many searches a month these keywords get, if they're coming from mobile, if they're coming from desktop. So we can see pizza, Norwalk, Connecticut is getting 720 searches a month on average. That's a lot of pizza. If you were position 1 for that, you're getting potentially over 700 people coming to your website, and a lot of them probably ordering pizza because this seems like a really high intent keyword. If you're looking for pizza, Norwalk, Connecticut, you're probably ordering pizza right now. So to appear for page 1 for this is a big deal, and Slice of Italy is really missing out. Why are they missing out? You could also search for more keywords. You don't want just one keyword for your entire website. Again, Slice of Italy is a small website. It does just a couple things, pizza. So there's only a few keywords that you'll rank for, but if your website is something more robust, if you have a lot of different products, there's going to be a lot of different keywords you want to rank for because you have a lot of different pages. So you could look up your competitors by searching their URL, and you'll get some more ideas of what keywords they might be showing up for. Famous pizza, They're showing up for 24-hour pizza delivery, just pizza delivery keywords. If I offer delivery, I might want to look more into those keywords. Or you could search for broad terms and just find related keywords from there. So this was just a general pizza Norwalk search, and I got pizza Norwalk, Connecticut, pizza delivery Norwalk, Connecticut, Italian food Norwalk, Connecticut. I didn't even think of that. So these are other keywords that I could be focusing on with my content, with the other pages on my website. Right now, I'm talking about my homepage, and I'm really worried about pizza Norwalk, Connecticut. I need to show up for that search. 720 searches a month. So we're gonna start working on getting SEO elements onto our website. We're gonna look at the headings, the H1 first. There's only one per page, but don't forget it on your homepage. This is you telling Google what your page is all about, but then on your homepage, it's telling Google what your entire website is about. So if you're missing your H1, Google doesn't really know what your website is about. Obviously, they could dig a little deeper, but at first glance, there's millions of other websites out there. They're not going to dig deep into your website every time they crawl the internet. So you're not going to appear on page 1 for pizza, Norwalk, Connecticut. So we're going to look at famous pizza and get a load of this. Slice of Italy. They're obviously using the same pizza template that Anil was talking about yesterday, if they're on WordPress or something like that. But the biggest difference we could see, other than it looks basically exactly the same, is Famous has a very obvious heading, and Slice of Italy is missing that. They have a recent shout. It's not big, it's a lot of words. I don't think it's a heading. We dig a little deeper, we're gonna see that it is not a heading. Welcome to Famous Pizza is Famous Pizza's H1. We're gonna see it's an H1 by looking at our developer tools. So we're gonna get a little techie here. It's not that hard. We're gonna right click on the web page that we're looking at, and we're gonna click inspect. And then this little panel is gonna pop up. You can click on any element on the website and it's gonna tell you more about it. If we click on this element, we see H1 main title. There it is, that's the H1. If we look at Slice of Italy's website, that says it might be an H3 or paragraph or something like that. It is not a H1 and is not an H2, your two most important headings, but H1 is the big one, the most important. And if you're missing it on your homepage, that's a big no-no. So Famous Pizza, their H1 is welcome to Famous Pizza. It's not really including a keyword that we want to, but at least it says pizza, it has their name. It's telling Google what it is, which is a best practice, but of course we could always stick a keyword in there. If I were to edit this, I would say, welcome to Famous Pizza, the best pizza in Norwalk, Connecticut, something like that. That includes a keyword. Next, we're gonna look at meta title and description, the second biggest thing after H1 that we need on every page, and especially our homepage. It appears in the head of your code, but with a CMS, you typically don't have to touch the code when you're putting the metas in. Like in the old-fashioned days, you would have to do that, but now it's very easy. I'll show you screenshots in a minute, but the CMSs that Anil was showing you yesterday with Wix and Shopify and all that, it's very easy to edit on the fly. It's not difficult. You don't have to get into your code, but you could see it in the code. So if we look at the developer tools, scroll all the way up to the head, we can look at Slice of Italy's current meta title and meta description, which is there. They're not missing it, but it's not very good and it's not following best practices. So their title, Slice of Italy, Norwalk, Connecticut. They have their brand name, they have their location, they're missing a keyword completely. And then if we go into their description, all we see is keywords, and this is not best practice. This is what we call keyword stuffing. We have Slice of Italy, Italian food Norwalk, Venezuelan food Norwalk, pizza by the slice, pizza slice, best pizza Norwalk. It keeps going. This is not best practice. Best practice is natural language, the kind of language that somebody wants to read, the kind of language that somebody's going to search. And if we can artfully place keywords within that copy, that's the best practice because it's readable. And then it also gives you the chance to show up for those keyword searches. Now, this is not going to show up for pizza or Italian food Norwalk, Connecticut, or best pizza Norwalk. It's not going to show up because it's not best practice. And Google is, I don't want to say punishing them, but it's not giving them the opportunity because they're not doing it right. So if the best practices are not followed, Google will dynamically pull content from your website in the search results. So your meta title and meta description, if they're right, more often than not, they're going to appear in the search results like that. So you have full control of how you look like on the search results. You can include your call to action. You can include new information, important information that you want to share with people before they click onto your site. But if Google pulls it for you, you don't have a say. And this is what Slice of Italy looks like in search. It's their recent shout. That tells us nothing, and it's out of date. It doesn't include keywords. It's not going to show up for a keyword. And if only they wrote it properly, this would not have appeared. So your meta title should be around 55 characters, and you get one for every single page, your description too. Every page can be different, and it should be different because your page content is different. So it's going to rank for different keywords. You're going to have different messaging. So make sure these are unique. Don't use the same meta title, meta description across your website. A lot of websites, they will change the title, but they'll use the same description across everything. And that's just not good. It's a waste of space. You have a lot of opportunity there, so use it. Meta title, you want to include keywords, and then you also want to include your brand name. Do that as much as possible, but especially on your homepage, you want to have your name there because, again, you're showing Google and you're showing users what your website is about. Your meta description is going to include keywords written in natural language, like I said, and include a call to action. So drive the person to do something, inspire them, engage them. So here's an example I wrote for Slice of Italy's homepage. It's going to be Slice of Italy, Pizza Norwalk, Connecticut, Sono restaurants. Those are two keywords that we want to appear for. Pizza Norwalk, Connecticut is our goal for the homepage. We're going to probably put it on the heading too. And then for the description, Slice of Italy has the best pizza in Norwalk, Connecticut. That's one keyword. Drop by for a slice. Not really, but gets the point across. Order pizza delivery for Fairfield County. Another keyword, so 2, 3. And check out our menu and order online. That is a call to action, and it tells the user what's on the page, a menu and the option to order online. That is a best practice description, and it will show in the search results. So this is an example of what the meta options show on Shopify. It's going to be on a page-by-page basis. So Anil showed you a product page yesterday. You're just going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and then it's going to say search engine listing preview. This is going to have different wording across what CMS you're using. So this one says search engine listing preview, and then it calls it a page title and a description. It is the meta title and it is the meta description. Don't worry about it. It might not always say meta, but it is. And if you want to make sure after you write your custom titles and descriptions, just use that dev tool trick and look at your head and make sure it's updated to what you want it to be. If it's not, you might need to be putting it in a different place. So this is what it looks like in Shopify. Very easy to update. And then this is Wix. A little different because the Wix pages are shown on the left-hand side, and you can't actually edit it on the page. You'll have to go to the settings for that page and then update it from there. And here they call it title on search engine and page description. Again, it's your meta title and your meta description. There's also this keyword option, which allows you to add keywords. This is good for if you want to keep track of what keywords you're using per page, but this isn't used in the search algorithm. It used to be something Google used, but that's out of date because keyword stuffing is out of date now. So it doesn't help you in search in your SEO efforts, but it helps you to look at it and just see what keywords you want to be using. And step 4 is measurement. So we went through Facebook ads, we went through SEO, now we're at Google Analytics. Like I said, about everything else, it's free. Promise you, you don't have to pay for all of your marketing efforts. SEO is basically free, and measuring your website performance will always be free if you use Google Analytics. They're never going to ask you to pay for anything. And not only is it free, but it's essential. And if it's free, it's for me, you know, put it on your website. There's no harm in doing it. It offers grouped information on website traffic according to audience, acquisition, behavior, and conversions. And then you could link it with Google Tag Manager, another free tool to set up easy event tracking. And it works just like Google Pixel. You just pick something on your website, call it a conversion, push it live, and it starts tracking it as an event on Google Analytics. So if you want to count how many times somebody is entering a certain page or how many times somebody is clicking a button on a page. Like these are all things that you can call goals or events or conversions in Google Analytics, and it's gonna keep track of it by acquisition. So you could see how many times that event happens from organic traffic, how many times it happens through a campaign, or you could look at it by a page view. So how many times that event happened on this page or on another page. So like I said, your acquisition report, you see all your different channels. There's direct, there's organic, social, email, referral, it goes on and on. Referral are your backlinks, like we talked about. You want to get as many backlinks as possible, and they want to be clean and good for your website and trustworthy links. This is where you find your referral traffic. You also will see your organic traffic, which is your SEO traffic, your free traffic, the traffic that comes from Google and Bing and Yahoo and all that, but mostly Google. Direct is somebody just typing your URL right in their search bar, so they already know your name. And social, your social media accounts. Sometimes this shows under referral. It really depends. And campaigns. Campaigns are email campaigns. They can be paid social media campaigns. You can track a link. You can track link traffic by campaign using a UTM code, which is super easy, free again. It doesn't affect the performance of your page or your URL. You just use a campaign URL builder. It adds a little code to the back of your link, and that's the link you're going to use for your Facebook ad URL or for your social media posts, and then it's going to track it in Google Analytics. Instead of social traffic, it's going to call it by its campaign name, and it's just easier to see how your campaigns are performing. You can just Google search a UTM URL builder, and this link will probably come up, but again, it'll be included in the resources, which you'll get tomorrow. And so, yep, this is what your acquisition report looks like. I do want to point out the top one is by channels, and then the second one is by source and medium. So source and medium is just the next step after channel. So channel is organic direct referral, and then source is where that organic traffic is coming from. So Google, or where that referral traffic is coming from, LinkedIn. 50% of this example's traffic is coming from organic search. And then when we funnel it down, we see that 49% of that 50 is from Google. So again, everybody's using Google. Make Google happy. Do what you can to follow Google's rules. So other than seeing where people are coming from, we're also going to look at the metrics. So we can see this on a channel level, and channel level is, again, that social or direct or organic. Bounce rate is if people are leaving immediately. So a lot of metrics, you want to see them go high. You want bounce rate to be as low as possible, because if your bounce rate is high, it means someone is getting to your website and then leaving right away. In this example, bounce rate is 66%. That's not ideal. That's pretty common for a like awareness campaign or something like that, because you're not always going to be getting the right people with awareness. But with a more targeted campaign, like a conversion campaign or intent to purchase campaign, you're going to want that to be as low as possible, because you want them to actually be going through your site and making that purchase. The benchmark is under 30 is good, but under 50 is good as well too. You just want it to be as low as possible. Pages per session is how much people are interacting with your website. So this is an average of how many pages they view per session. If it's one, they're just staying on your homepage, and that could be fine if you're getting conversions that way. But if your conversions are buried a little deeper in your website, having one page per session is not ideal, because they're not getting where they need to go. Your average session duration, that's how long they're staying. So 1:33, that can mean any amount of things. If you have a lot of copy on your pages and videos and stuff to look at, people should be spending a lot of time on the page. So if it's under a minute, that might be concerning. And then we see your conversion rate. So that's seeing if that channel is helping you hit your goals. You could set any amount of goals, and your conversions can be broken down by goal, or you could just look at overall conversion rate. And then if we look at page level, which will be under your behavior report in Google Analytics, you're going to see kind of the same metrics, but then a few different ones. So entrances, that tells you where people are entering. So if your homepage has 100 entrances, we can see here that we see a percentage. So it's 34.5% of entrances. That's probably the homepage because that's where people are most likely entering. But if you see your entrances are abnormally high for a product page, is it because it has good SEO and it's showing up in all these searches? Is it because it's linked somewhere? Is it because you're pushing an ad towards that page? This is where you would want to go back up to your acquisition report and see it from there. Percent exit, same thing, just the other way. It's the page that people are leaving at. If it's your carts, that's great. It means that people were making a purchase and then they're leaving from there. If it's your homepage, that's not ideal because they didn't get anywhere on your site. And then your page value is how much money your page is making you. You can set a value to any goal. So if your goal is a form fill, which is a lead, and your average lead makes you $800, then you would set that value to that goal. So if you hit 2 conversions that week, on that page, your value is $1,600. Now, we've talked enough about goals and events. I'm not going to go too deep into this. And this is our last slide. Goals track specific interactions on your website, like downloads, purchases, literally anything can be a goal. And there's 4 ways to track goals. It could be by URL. So if somebody is landing on a certain page, so this could be a landing page for your campaign, or it could just be you want somebody to make it to the contact form. It could be time. So time somebody spent on a page or time somebody spent in a session. If you're hoping, I guess you would set this goal like if you know on average somebody spends 10 minutes on your website and that leads to a lead, instead of tracking just that lead, you can also be tracking 10-minute conversion. So at 10 minutes, that'll count as a conversion and that'll tell you how many of those 10-minute sessions actually led to a lead. Something like that. That's not a very common goal. Pages per visit, that's another way you could do it. So you could set a goal for 4 pages per visit, and that's just letting you know how many times people are staying for more than 4 pages. This could be any amount of pages. Again, if you know that people usually read 6 pages before they make a purchase, then you would set that goal just to see how they're working together. And then the most common type of goal is event goal. This is where you're going to use Google Tag Manager, which works like Pixel. You just pick the events. It could be a click, it could be a listen, it could be a view of a video. More often than not, it's a purchase or it's a form fill. And you just set up these event goals and you attach a value to it. You see where these events are happening by looking at your acquisition report, and then your behavior report. You'll see on what pages these events are happening. And that's it. That's marketing for your website.
So first off, awesome information there. Definitely a lot to digest, but done in a way that really makes it understandable. This is definitely, I would say, our most technical portion of the webinar. No, not at all. I think before we jump into questions, again, the big takeaway here is there's so many different opportunities to leverage SEO, leverage Facebook, to really get yourself out there. And those ads, I think the example, really, Slice of Italy is huge. They're missing out on an opportunity, and I love them, so I'd love for them to get more business.
Them too.
So really, that I hope you guys kind of take away as you dive into that aspect to really make sure you're at least doing something for SEO. Again, there's so much that you can do, and oftentimes a lot of people will reach out for that help, but don't be afraid to get started. One thing that I know we mentioned that we've seen a few questions is whether or not you guys are going to be getting this presentation or the documentation and resources. The answer is yes. So don't worry about having to have memorized any of that or taken furious notes. We'll be making sure to share that with you so you have that available as a resource. So that being said, I do want to go ahead and jump into questions. So It looks like first question, which is coming from Jamie. So it says, what should I pay attention to when using social media marketing / SEO for profit?
So if you're using social media, there's a lot of things you want to pay attention to. Are we talking about social media ads or just normal organic social media?
I would say probably starting social, well, with organic, since I imagine most people, they're a little bit hesitant to start spending right away in social media. So wherever they can, start to get going before actually having to invest heavily.
Yeah. So a big thing that's always missed, not always, but a lot of the time, is you're using a private Instagram account or a normal Facebook group for your business when you could actually just link it to Business Manager on Facebook or set your Instagram account up to be a business account. And that gives you access to analytics. Personal accounts don't have analytics, but the business accounts do. And there's a ton of insights available on Instagram. I was just digging into ours the other day. You could see reach per post, you could see reach for the week, you can see the average likes and comments, and you can even see how many people are clicking the link in your bio. Just things like that you're going to want to look for with your social media. Same thing with Facebook. You can see all the same data if people are clicking to your website from there, if that's your goal, or if your goal is just to get more followers and get more likes and engagement on your posts. Those are all insights you can look at, which it's very limited with a personal account. So set up business or your Facebook business account. So business.facebook.com, set it all up from there, link your accounts, and you're going to have a huge abundant dashboard of all of these metrics that you can look at. And if you're an analytic nerd, you're just going to get lost in it, and it'll turn into fun, I promise.
No, I think you make a good point. It's a lot of information to look at. Actually, Emilia, and I hope I'm saying that, said she mentioned just showing an example of best practice. And I think really, Emilia, part of it is there's a lot of information to look at. Probably, I would say, where could you, or what technique should you master when you're learning SEO? Like, where should I start? If I'm a complete noob, never heard of it today, where can I get started and really give it a shot?
I think step 1 and 2 that we talked about before, which is the audit portion and the keyword research, are your most important things, because that's just going to be all of the beef that supports your strategy. So with your audit, look at where you are right now. You don't need a fancy tool to audit your website. If you're just working for your website, you don't need to pay for some type of program. You can just search the keywords you want to be searching for on Google and see where you show up. And if it's not in a place that you're happy about, then you know that there's improvement there. Search those keywords, see what competitors are coming up for those keywords, then click into the pages that are populating and look at the content that's on that page. Do they have a meta title and a meta description? And do they have written there? And does it include those keywords? If it doesn't include those keywords, then it's probably the content on that page is supporting those keywords and is the reason why they are appearing. So just diving deep into your competitors it might take some time, but it'll give you a good idea of what your, I'm not going to say competition again, but it's what your competition is out there. And if honestly, after the stuff that you saw today, you look at your competitors and you see it's not up to par, it's going to be pretty easy to beat them out once you get started with your SEO strategy.
Right. Okay. And I guess building off that question with your competitors, and Michelle had asked this, but I think it ties in perfectly. What are the reasons that some websites that maybe are not optimized are ranking ahead of me? Is it because of content? Is it other factors?
Yeah, they could just be following Google's rules without utilizing all of the options that they have, updating your metas and optimizing your files and your pages and all that. They could just have a lot of backlinks. They could have been mentioned by, I always use Forbes as the example because that's the money, they have millions of users a month. If you have a link from Forbes, oh my God, if you have good backlinks, you're going to appear because Google respects that and they trust that. If you have good content, you're going to show up. And then you're going to show up even higher and even stronger if you have a good SEO strategy.
Right. And I guess for someone getting started, one of the most basic things you want to do is set up Tag Manager. That's going to be a huge thing. So Rachel actually wanted to know how can Tag Manager, how can you set that up? How can that be done? And she wanted to know if you could actually show an example.
Share an example. Maybe. Let me try. So basically, Tag Manager is another thing that you're just adding a little code into your website to set up. And then you can set up all those tags from there. Hold on, we're just getting it to load.
And Rachel, I think one thing to take away from this is again, a lot of this seems pretty daunting, and it feels like there's a lot to dive in. But once you actually have the opportunity to set these things up, you're going to see a lot of benefits because there's a lot of data you can look at. There's so much information that is going to be readily available to you that's going to help you make decisions and choices that are really going to benefit you in the long run.
Yeah, there's so many sources out there. Google has their own blog. We have a blog that has a lot of this information. It's very easy to find information on all of these things. I'm going to share my screen again to show you Tag Manager real quick. So this is what Tag Manager looks like. You're going to see tags, triggers, variables, all that stuff. Basically, you set up triggers and those triggers work with tags. So if we just look at, so this is how you set up an event without having to write any code whatsoever. You literally just name a label, you name the action, and then you're going to set up your triggers to show where that's going to be. It's literally just clicking things on your site. So here, the click ID on the page is called hit. And so this is triggering that every time somebody clicks something that has that ID, which is the button that we're tracking, it's going to trigger this tag to report as an event in Google Analytics that is called flavor selector. And so now we could see how many times the flavor selector was hit just because that trigger went off when that button was hit. Might sound a little confusing, but it's really not. It's just knowing what things are named and tying those names to an event. And
what these events are, you can, these, I guess, micro conversions or goals that you set up gives you the opportunity, because we all know if you have a website, you either want people to purchase your products, so you're going to get that conversion, you're going to see that dollar value, and immediately you're going to say, hey, my bank account is growing. Or let's say if you're offering a service, you're going to measure that in leads. But the important thing to keep in mind is whether you're going after leads or selling products, there's going to be a ton of different actions that users are going to be taking on your website that you also,
before they even get there. Yeah,
exactly, that are going to contribute to that user journey, that are going to be essential and vital. And if you miss out on that, you're not going to get the ultimate, that ultimate conversion, which is either a purchase or a lead coming through.
Yeah, and if we just go back to Slice of Italy, like, it's not a big site. There's not many things to do. They're probably tracking how many people call them from the website, or if they're tracking, that's what they want to know. But the micro conversions you'd want to see are people clicking on the menu? Are people scrolling on the menu? Are people looking at their about page? Just little things like that. And then we'll see, are people usually looking at the menu before they call us? Is the menu too hard to get to? And is it deterring people from calling us? Just little things like that.
Right, and I think this is a great question, Tracy. Can an event be getting an email?
Can an event be getting
an email?
Oh yeah, if you have a click to contact us and it's an email, set that up as an event, and that very well could be it.
And that's the thing. You can set up several events. It's thinking about what are, and this is kind of thinking about your.
You don't have to limit yourself. You can,
exactly. If
anything looks important, make it an event. And if you realize afterwards, you can just stop looking at it or just turn it off. It's not a big deal. And messing with Tag Manager and Google Analytics isn't going to mess up your site. They're connected, but they don't affect one another. So play around in it. You can't mess anything up. So it's worth just digging in it and seeing all of your options.
Same goes for actually the developer tools. I know those look super intimidating. When you click on that, it really is a great opportunity for you to kind of click around your website and see what's what. That's actually one of the easiest ways to check, if your H1 field is empty. And again, we'll be providing this, but don't think just because you see a whole side of code that you're going to break your website. That's not going to be the case. It's just there as a resource.
Yeah, it's like in high school when you would open up developer tools and like mess with your high school's homepage. Like it doesn't actually do that, but change the name to Fart University or something.
Yeah, this isn't coding in MySpace. Anyone even remembers MySpace at this point. So actually, Dee has a great question. Just as you're doing this keyword research, what would actually be the best keyword research tool and even competitor search tools?
Right. So Google Ads Keyword Planner is free, and it's good for if you have the ideas of terms you want to be searching for. If you want to pay a little money, SEMrush is a great tool. Ahrefs is a great tool. And with those tools, you can actually search your competitor URLs, see all the keywords that they're ranking for, search your URL, see all the keywords you're ranking for, and the positions you're ranking for them. And then you can kind of evaluate, all right, I'm number one for pizza, Washington Street or whatever. And it's like, that's great, but I'm the only pizza place on Washington Street, so that doesn't help me. So we need to get that next step, that Norwalk, Connecticut. So you can kind of evaluate it that way. And then both of those websites, they do have a similar keyword planner to Google Ads, where you just type in a term and it's going to give you all of these ideas. And from there, you can decide, this is something I want to work with. This is something that I don't need. And then from there, you take those keywords, sprinkle them through your meta tags, your meta descriptions, your headings where it's relevant, also inspire you to create content for your website. If we'll go back to Anil's quarantine mugs. If people are searching for Christmas mugs, maybe you should have a Christmas mug product around Christmas time, because a lot of people are looking for those. And if you have the capability to make that product, offer it to your clients.
Awesome. And again, as you're using that tool, don't go and not to get too into it, but there's high volume keywords and there's low volume keywords, and you want to make sure you don't just go after those high volume keywords, because there's a lot of competition there. So you want to strike a nice balance, go after keywords that you believe that you can build that ranking for, and as you begin to climb, you're going to get more traction, and you'll be able to go after those those more competitive keywords.
Yeah, for sure. That pizza Norwalk, Connecticut keyword, it was 720 searches a month, but actually the competition was low because I guess there's only a handful of pizza restaurants in the area. So that means you do have the opportunity to rank for it if you're just starting out fresh, if it has low competition. If it was 10 searches a month in a medium competition, is it really worth going after? Because you have to work a little harder and it's not going to reap you as much reward. So is it worth it? So it's kind of playing with what you think that your website is capable of in your stage of your SEO journey, and how much work you're going to put for that keyword. Right.
And it sounds like, I think anyone who's really venturing into this and trying this out is going to be looking, it's going to be a little daunting, but again, it's just trying to establish what's going to work for you. Jill, I see you actually are asking, what SEO keywords should I go for, or should I use for a consulting business?
A consulting business? Oh, I don't know. If you're local, I would definitely try for those local keywords, like pizza Norwalk, Connecticut was a local keyword because you're a local business. If you serve all of New York, let's say, so you're going to look for keywords around about of consulting services, New York. If you're a certain town in New York, add that town in there. Of course, do the research to see if people are actually searching for that term, and then dive into your actual services. So if you're, I don't know what kind of consulting there is. If you're a business consultant for finance,
I think you probably want to drill down a little bit.
Yeah.
A pretty broad term. What type of consulting are you doing? I think is a great place to start, because what's going to happen is if you're going after these more specific keywords, your traffic is going to be more qualified, meaning if I'm searching for it, I'm going to find you, and I've got higher intent than, say, someone who's just looking for a different type of consultant altogether.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and especially if you do have your different services listed out on your website as different pages, that's even better because you have a good piece of content to support that keyword. And that's all that Google's looking for is the content to support what you're claiming. So pick that keyword for that service. And again, another way to do that is look at your competitors and what words are they using on their page and what words are they appearing for in search. If you think your website can appear for that as well, use it in your strategy. There's no harm in borrowing strategy because you want to beat them out for it.
Exactly. SEO, here's the thing, in your industry, everyone's going to be going after the same keywords. So it's just a matter of making sure that you're implementing these keywords without, like Morgan said, keyword stuffing. You want to make sure that your copy and the information displayed on your website reads naturally versus, here in Norwalk, we serve pizza. This pizza is great. It's really cold, or it's really hot pizza. It's even good when it's cold pizza. That's really problematic. No one
And people do that. And
and
that's the thing. And Google sees that and there's another website that looks exactly the same, looking at Famous and Slice of Italy, their websites look exactly the same. They have the same pages offering, just who's going to present that content better, who has better reviews, who has more unique content, who is offering a better experience, who has their menu high up, who's getting more conversions on their website. They're going to boost them up in search and give them that prime real estate in the search results.
And not to get too deep in on content, but content is something that's going to really help you out a lot, especially when you're first starting in SEO. We nerd out about it all the time. Content is going to be huge, so the more you can produce, the better. It just gives you another opportunity to rank for keywords that you might be interested in. So one thing that you're probably going to run into is, as you're doing this and implementing this, you might run into a little bit of trouble. It might seem like it's super easy, but we also understand that it can be difficult when you're first getting started. So, and in case in point, it seems like Rachel kind of hit a little bit of a wall. She mentioned, I started analytics, but for some reason, not getting the information. I don't know where in WordPress to put the tracking code for each page.
I don't know where, wait, you need to repeat that.
So it seems like she's got her analytics set up, but she isn't 100% sure on where she should put that tracking code.
I don't know where to put in WordPress. Oh, the tracking code. Okay, so you don't need to put it in for each page. It needs to be for your overall website. So it's going to be in the head of your code. All WordPress templates are kind of not built equally. Sometimes it's going to be in your left sidebar, it's going to be settings, and then or it's going to be called menu or something like that. And then you're going to see header / footer / HTTP or something like that. And it's going to offer you a box that is called head, body, footer, and that's where you stick in all your codes. If your template might not have an open head, and then you're going to have to dive into that code, which I'm not a coder. I'm good at copy and pasting things in boxes, not so much in code. But if it's an easy to use template, it should be somewhere in there. I would look at the template, what's that? Just the information on it and see if they have any instructions for it. It should be under something called header though in the settings.
And Rachel, what we can do too is within all the materials we're sending over, we could shoot you over a screenshot of where it potentially could live. Again, it's not something that you need to drop in on each page, so hopefully that makes it a little bit easier for you. But as long as you're able to drop it in that section, you'll be set and you'll be getting that information from analytics.
Right. Anything that says it needs to go in the head, if it goes in the head, it's on every page automatically because your head appears everywhere. So that shouldn't be a problem. You don't have to put it in more than once. If you put it in more than once, that could lead into issues, and that would be doubling like page view metrics and making your bounce rate really, really low because it looks like somebody went on your site 2 times in a row really fast, just things like that. So definitely only want it in there once.
So speaking of kind of hiccups, and this question is coming from, it looks like Maria, says, how do I avoid website hacking?
How do I avoid website hacking?
Yeah.
Okay. Rule number one is making sure your website is secure. So you're not an HTTP site, you're an HTTPS site, and that's just purchasing that security. I can't think of the term of what it's called right now, but you can Google it and it's there. A lot of website, this is actually SSL, that's what it's called. Your SSL certification. So buy that and make sure it's hooked up to your domain, because if it's not secure, for one, and for two, you're actually not going to show up in search at all, because Google isn't going to trust your website automatically. Like, it's 2020. I think they implemented this last year or maybe 2018, where they're just, first they were showing you a warning. They told you, are you sure you want to go here? Are you sure you want to go here? And then you really have to search for proceed to website. But now they're not even going to show you in search if your website is not secure. Secondly, look out for where your website is. Yesterday, Anil really didn't recommend WordPress. We don't really recommend it because it's not the most secure platform to build your website on. You need a lot of plugins to make it work. And with a lot of plugins, that makes your website very susceptible to anybody breaking into it, because they don't need to actually get into your domain. They just need to get into the plugin, and then they get into your website that way. So SSL, make sure you have a secure template, CMS. Just like anything, don't use the same password for every plugin you have in your admin. And you could actually hide your admin page in search so nobody can find it. So it makes it even harder for somebody to log into your backend. You're going to do that with robots.txt file. And this is just something that you're going to see in your CMS and your SEO elements settings thing. You're going to see your sitemap.xml file, and you're going to see your robots.txt file. So what you're going to do is literally just type in disallow colon and then do /admin or whatever your admin page is, and that's going to just hide that from showing up in the search results. And that will cut out a lot of hackers or just searching for admin pages on the web. And
when you are doing that, and not to, for any of you that are on WordPress, not to scare you, it's just something that we've noticed in a lot of instances where WordPress can be more prone to getting hacked. If you are on WordPress, just something to be mindful of. One thing as well is if you're setting up your SSL, depending on where you're doing your hosting, if you're doing it through WP Engine, which we would actually recommend because they help out with a lot of that, you can actually just log in, and it's a matter of clicking a few buttons and your SSL is all set. So again, not to scare those of you on WordPress, it's just we know that WordPress is actually much more susceptible to being hacked, and it's something to watch out for, especially if you're using a lot of plugins. Make sure those plugins are up to date, and get rid of any plugins that you don't need, because they're going to slow down your website anyway. So
yeah, they're going to slow down your website, and it's just, again, like giving more opportunity for people to get in. A lot of times you might have used the plugin for just one page or one campaign and you don't need it anymore. So just uninstall it the same way that you would uninstall something from your phone or your computer if you're not using it anymore. There's no reason for it to be there. I think the number is upwards of like 90% of CMS sites that are getting hacked are actually WordPress sites. Of course, that number is a lot of the websites out there. The majority are WordPress sites, but that's just, again, 90%. That's a lot.
And the other thing to think about is if you are on WordPress, I know for those of you that didn't join yesterday, tripping to there. For those of you that didn't join, you got to think about what you want to deliver with your website, whether or not it's going to be e-commerce, a product, or a service. And the recommendations we made yesterday, if you are going more on the e-commerce route, Shopify is going to be a great platform for you. If you're going to be more service-based, Wix is actually a great place to start. It's very easy, drag and drop. So just think about your options in that way. So that being said, it's, based on experience, what would you say is the best way? I've got a website up. I've got it going. I've got my business. I'm super excited. I'm selling quarantine mugs. Not to steal Anil's idea, but he didn't copyright it. I'm selling quarantine mugs. Based on your experience, what is the best way to then increase website traffic?
Okay. Ads for sure. I mean, if you're just getting started with your SEO doesn't happen overnight. It's an overtime thing. So set it up as soon as possible. You just heard about it today. Start doing it today because it's going to take time for it to finally like gain traction. But ads are the best way and the fastest way to get traffic to your website. And now that you know how to smartly create these ads, again, like I said, you don't want to just like boost your post. That's not going to really help you get the traffic that you want to get. But setting up ads with the audience that you think want your mugs, coffee lovers, dads, if they're quarantine Father's Day mugs, whatever it is, like create audiences around that, the age group that you think, the location, if it is something that is not available in all of the US or something like that, or like say for example you're doing camping gear, you're gonna not target that in New York City because people aren't camping in New York City. Just things like that. Set up your ads and start with awareness, because awareness is just going to get your brand out in front of them, and from there you could drive it down, start those consideration and conversion ads, which is actually going to bring the traffic to your website. If you're not worried about getting as many people and their eyes on your brand, start with consideration. That's not a problem. But yeah, ads are the fastest way to get them to your website. And if you started your website yesterday, I mean, give it a couple days, test it out. We call it QA testing. Test it with your friends, with your team, have them go onto your site, make sure there's no issues, because the last thing you want to do is push ads or make ads to push to your website that once they get there, they're not going to be able to make the purchase, or they're not going to have a good experience, because then you're just wasting money.
Yeah, so QA, again, you don't want to burn cash, especially if you're investing it. So you just make sure that your ads are working, they're showing up properly. We've seen it, happen a ton of times where you're running an ad and it's running a seasonal product when it shouldn't be running it, or it's running the wrong product altogether. So make sure you got that squared away. D, I'm noticing your question, the alternatives to WordPress. Yeah, luckily we managed to cover that, but again, we're going to include that in the resources. So sorry for not answering that sooner. And then Adam, actually, great question. Does an image name have importance on SEO?
It does. And that's also, we talked about SEO, that's like easy to see. There's also the SEO, the technical SEO, that's not easy to see. It's your consumers aren't going to see it on the website, the users, but you yourself have control over it. And again, maybe you don't see it, but the eyes of Google, they see all. Google sees your image file names and your alt tags and all of that. And what that is, so if you have images on your site, you don't want the image to be called untitled screenshot. You don't want it to be a bunch of letters and numbers. One, use your keywords. It's a place to use your keywords because it's not stuffing, but you want it everywhere on your site that you can. So use the keywords, use descriptors, describe the image. If you have that image available in different sizes or different variations, so you have one for your homepage header, and then you have a square image for a tile on your page or something like that, just name them appropriately. So if you need to go in and edit them for some reason, you know where to find them. And then also the alt tag. So what that is alternative text. You write that. It's usually when you upload an image, you double click it and you can like edit the stuff, edit the information that is under your image. There you're gonna also want to use keywords, but again, you want to describe what the image is. Alt tags are so important for people who use screen readers. It makes your website accessible. And especially for e-commerce websites, you want those pages to be accessible because people are not only using their phones to shop more than ever, but they're using voice search to shop, and they're using their Alexas and all that. So if Alexa's reading the page to them, it needs to say image of quarantine mug and white, because if it just says untitled image or doesn't have an alt tag on it, they don't know what to present and what to read off to the user. In the case of alt tags and accessibility, I think it was Domino's like last year, they got sued for not having an accessible site because it is in violation of like disability laws that your site needs to be accessible. So if you're getting a lot of traffic to your website, if you're making money off of your website, that can be at great risk if it's not accessible. And alt tags is one of the simplest ways to start making it accessible. Headings are also what make your website accessible. So again, like I said, Google is looking for best practices. That's what SEO is. And best practices include making it as accessible to everybody as possible. And so headings will read off the hierarchy of your page. So Google needs that to understand what your page is about, what kind of content is being laid out on your page. But then screen readers and accessibility wise need it to know that I need to start reading here and then work my way down. If your heading is down here and you have a H3 up here, it's confusing to Google crawling your website and screen readers and all of that.
And I know we mentioned kind of that ADA compliance and it fitting it with that. Just for those of you that don't know, that's the Americans with Disabilities Act. So it's let's say, you know, that's where the screen readers come in important, where let's say I may potentially be blind. You're providing the opportunity for someone to actually be able to experience your website in maybe a not traditional way. So that's just really important. And there are actually different levels of compliance. At this point in time, that isn't necessarily something that you guys might need to really worry about, but something to keep in mind.
And it does affect your SEO, it does, because you're including keywords and information on your website that Google is going to be reading when crawling your website. So if you should be worried about ADA, but don't stress it too much if you're a small business. But again, it does help your SEO. So keep it in mind when you're building out your pages.
And I know we're getting close to that time, sadly. One last question really is, and this is coming from Frank. So how often should I optimize my website for SEO?
It should be an ongoing process. So SEO is never ending. How often should you be optimizing your pages? So like once you set up your metas, you're not going to want to change those every day. You're not even going to want to change them every week, but maybe evaluate where your positions are landing every couple weeks, every month. Look for errors on your site so you could actually run site audits using those like Ahrefs and SEMrush programs. Another good one is SEO Mater. And I think you get a couple free runs a month even. So that's just something to use, and it'll let you know what pages need help, where you're missing metas, even like if you have broken links or anything like that. And that's something you definitely want to evaluate at least on a monthly basis, because you don't want to go too long with something broken, but you don't have to look at it every day because things don't just break overnight. It happens when you add more content to your website and things like that.
Right, and it's don't get in the habit of changing words every day. That's the thing.
No, it's not going to help you because Google still needs time to get to your website. Like we said, there's millions and millions of websites out there. Google isn't looking at every single one every day. It takes, I used to know this number. I feel like it's over a year. It takes over a year for Google to hit every single site and crawl it. That's not meaning that your website doesn't get looked at for 2 years in Google. As long as you submit your sitemap to Google, which you'll do using Google Search Console, write that one down. That one's important. You're going to submit your sitemap, and that puts you in line with Google, and it puts you in its queue to keep looking at it. There's millions of sites out there that have not submitted their sitemaps, and those are the ones that are going to take a long time to get crawled. And if it takes a long time for you to get crawled, then it's going to take a long time for Google to see any updates you make. So if you're making them every day, it's not looking at them. I doubt Google's looking at a single page on your website more than once a week.
Right. Think of it the equivalent of if you're gardening, staring at it the whole time isn't gonna make it grow any faster.
Yeah.
So
you got to give it time. Got to give it time to grow.
Mm-hmm. So that about wraps it up for us. Thanks, Morgan, so much. Covered a lot of information. I know we had a lot of questions. Again, guys, don't worry. I know we covered a lot of topics today, and more technical topics. What we're going to be doing is sharing that with you in an email and sending out those resources. again, this has been a great experience just doing this webinar series. We had some fantastic panelists, and want to give a round of applause to all the attendees. I saw a lot of familiar names, so really glad to see that you guys were engaged and interested. The one thing I did want to mention is, while this is our first webinar series, it won't be our last. Definitely make sure to follow us at Electric Engine, ENJIN, on Instagram and Twitter. We'll be posting, again, that information, and also letting you know when these upcoming boot camps are coming. So definitely make sure to follow us and reach out with any questions you might have or anything you might want us to cover and go in deeper on. So again,
yeah, you can send out emails too to this events at Electric Engine, because we're watching it. That's the email that's hooked up to the Eventbrite. So you could always send questions there, but it's going to send out an email tomorrow with all of the resources, all of the recordings for all 3 sessions. So you could watch it back, share it with your friends, all that. We're going to be posting everything, again, like he said, on Instagram and Twitter. Our LinkedIn, definitely follow us there, because we post all new blogs and information similar to this, teaching you how to do things and giving you updates.
And again, guys, if there's anything you want us to cover, absolutely make sure to reach out, because we can make that part of our webinar series, if not a whole series, because there's so much information out there. We want to make sure that we're able to provide that to you, especially as you're growing your business or you're just curious about this in general. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Again, I'm Noel Lopez. This is Morgan Hennessey, and it's been fantastic. Make sure to follow us and tune in for our next series. Thanks, guys.
Next series. And also, if you guys were big fans of the first session that we had featuring our awesome panelists, we've actually talked to Chris Mead on our podcast, ECommerce Disruptors, before, and we talked to lots of cool people just like Chris, just like Natalia, who started their own businesses, mainly e-commerce businesses, and who work for like big e-commerce brands and big brands in general. We've talked with Jägermeister, their favorite people to chat with, on our podcast, which is called ECommerce Disruptors, which you can get to from our social media, from our website. But it's available on Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called.
So we're on all those channels. And if you guys enjoyed me hosting this, you'll love the podcast, and definitely looking forward, and would even love to hear from you guys if you want us to get specific guests. So stay in touch. It's been fantastic, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks,
Bye, guys.